Okay, in this lesson, we're going over hedging, which I'm sure most of you have heard the term hedging or hedging your bet. It's another tool in a sports bettor's tool belt. I'll go over exactly what it is, go through an example, and kind of discuss when we might use a hedge bet. So what is hedging? Hedging is making a second bet on the opposite side of the original bet, which by definition it's very similar to arbitrage betting because you're taking both sides of a game or an event. But hedging is when you make that second wager in order to limit your exposure or risk that you have on the original bet. Basically, it's the intention of the bet or the purpose that makes hedging and arbitrage betting different. With arbitrage betting, you're looking to maximize profit by making two bets. Hedging, you're kind of looking to reduce the risk of potential loss by making offsetting bets. There's a ton of ways you can hedge, but this example is just a situation I'm actually facing right now at the time of this recording. Before the season started, I made a bet on the LA Chargers to win over 9 regular season games this year. And as of right now, they currently have exactly 9 wins. They play their final game of the regular season in a few days against the Raiders. Now, technically, I'm not at risk of losing money because if the Chargers do lose this game, the bet is a push, which actually played a big role into why I made the bet. But because of the push probability, that's a pretty big difference. But that's a different lesson for now. But just because I'm not at risk of losing money, I do want to take advantage of the opportunity here because it's been 6 months and to have a return of $0 after 6 months is basically a loss. I could have used that money for other opportunities rather than just sit there pending in my account for 6 months, taking up my available credit. So my hedge options would be to bet the Raiders because if they do win, I don't win my Chargers season win total bet. Now, this is the general idea behind a hedge, making offsetting bets. I haven't decided how much to bet on the Raiders, but how much you hedge should really come down to personal preference. The status of your bankroll, risk, tolerance, all that, and of course, your opinion on the outcome of the game. I don't ever recommend blindly hedging just because the opportunity is there. If your original bet is a bet you really like, don't just bet the other team. Unless the amount of your original bet is so big that it would dramatically impact your bankroll if it lost. At the end of this video, I'll kind of explain the times when I think hedging is the way to go. But really, most bettors use hedging incorrectly. And a good rule is when thinking about hedging, just simply ask yourself, is it a good bet? Because at the end of the day, that's all we want to do is make a good bet. So is the hedge bet a good bet? And a common mistake, a big mistake I see bettors do all the time, and I have to go over it here is, when a bettor places a parlay in the first few games of the parlay win, and they have one spot left, and then they end up hedging off it. Now, of course, if you have a long shot 10-team parlay that's one game away from winning, go ahead and hedge. But if you're doing parlays and hedging after the first couple games win, why even bother doing that many spots on a parlay? If you're going to, hedge after the first few games wins, just do a parlay with one less team. Because what happens when you hedge in a parlay is you're basically letting the sports books off the hook, or you're doing them a favor. If you're, fortunate enough to win the first 3 legs of a 4-teamer, and all that stands in front of you is, you winning a 14 parlay is just one game, and you instead opt out to hedge and win less, you're leaving money on the table because, what happens is you won't win enough to make up for the losing parlays and all the times you never got a chance to hedge. So, and if we look at the math here, a $50 3-team parlay pays $300, right? We know that. Now, that's assuming all legs of the parlay are minus 110 odds. Now, the average sports bettor, we can assume, wins 50% of the time or 50% of their bets. So they'll lose each leg of a 3-team parlay half the time, which means the probability of winning a 3-team parlay is roughly 13%. And, you're going to lose a 3-team parlay roughly 87% of the time. You'll win 13%, but lose 87% of the time. So basically, if you did 100 different 3-team parlays, you'll likely win 13, of them and lose 87 of them, which on average means for every 8 3-team parlays, you'll win 1. Okay, so a 3-team parlay with all legs at minus 110 odds pays 300. We know that. We win on average one of them every 8 tries. So for every 8 3-team parlays, we lose 50. But the point is here, if you're hedging that last spot and not winning the full amount of the parlay, you're losing more than 50 for every 8 parlays. I know it seems good guaranteeing profit, but we want to think long term and the expected value here. Not all hedge bets are good bets. And hedging isn't something you want to do every time an opportunity presents itself. Unlike arbitrage betting, where if you find a spot to pull off an arbitrage bet, there's no downside to doing it, so just do it. Now, there are only a few instances or times when I think hedging is absolutely the right move. The first one is if the original wager will greatly impact your bankroll. Like if you made a very big size bet and if it loses, it would really hurt your bankroll by more than say 25%, or if you're one game away from winning a long shot future bet or something, or on some long shot parlay odds, and the amount you stand to win is like month changing type money, then go ahead and hedge. Now, the second time I recommend hedging is for anyone that is in the process of establishing their bankroll and building it. If you're just starting from scratch and don't have a bankroll, any loss is going to hurt that. So I'd recommend hedging because, the guaranteed money or the profit of the hedge is more important in the present than making that correct long-term decision. The last reason is just when new information has come in that now simply makes betting the other team or the other side of the hedge a good bet. In other words, your opinion on the outcome has changed and you like the other side. There's a bunch of different ways to hedge: live in-game hedging or at halftime for second half bets. And middling is a good way to hedge our bets because it gives us a chance to win both. And that's going to be the next lesson topic here. So I will see you on the next one for middling.